Mike Johnson. Mike
Mike Johnson?
Johnson. Not my Johnson, but Mike
Mike Johnson.
Johnson.
A nondescript.
Keep the government
nobody
open
knew him.
through the end of the fiscal year, which I'm not so sure is really a great idea anyway. But so they reached some sort of compromise agreement, and of course, Mike Johnson is now updating his resume because the Freedom Caucus is not happy.
Yeah.
And you saw what happened to his buddy Kevin when he tried to do some sort of a compromise.
Yeah.
But I thought it would be fun if we do our own little what could we take out of the federal budget? And I'm not sure. I think I know where you're at on this, and I know you and I in the past have voiced the support for the notion that there's too much that happens in this. Like our federal government, our national government has grown too big, and I make the case. So to finish the other thought, so what we're going to look at is what can we move out of the federal government down to the state level to shrink the size of the federal government, because we often argue that there ought to be more done at the states, which of course does not necessarily remove the tax burden from we the people, because it would be, but there's this notion that maybe perhaps the states, or at the state or local level, could maybe do the things more efficiently and thereby spend less money. Or maybe a state could opt out. Like if here in Texas, if we don't feel like we need farm subsidies, then maybe we just leave that part out. If that was so that's the path we want to go.
Let's go.
I make the case. I want to tell you just one little story. So I frequently say that in the beginning of this country, the founders never intend, like if they were to come back today and see the size of the national government, they would be a little bit more than a little surprised. And I made this point, interestingly, recently in social media. I made a comment to something somewhere, and somebody replied to my comment, and I said, well, the founders never imagined, they wouldn't have seen it this way, because they would have imagined a lot more that's being done at the state level, more the governing being done at the state level. And somebody decided to school me in the reply to my comment, which I always love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we forgot to do the cheers.
Oh, our yes, cheers.
Cheers. Salud.
So somebody decided to school me, and she said, no, that's not right. You need to go back and read and look up the meaning of federalism and read Thomas Paine, who she explained to me in the comment that who Thomas Paine was.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I had
Go back and get a life.
So I had an excellent reply, which we're not going to get into right now. But the point is that I do think now there was that part in the first couple of years when Team Hamilton had the field and they were for bigger national government, and then eventually Team Jefferson
was
back.
like, no way.
And so we could argue about the nuances of that, but I think none of them, back then when they were debating how whether there ought to be a strong national government, they never imagined strong like it is today, right? That's my so. I have a couple of visual aids. No, not visual.
Let's do it.
A couple of. All right. First of all, Trev, pull up the thing on our website with the pictures from the Declaration of Independence. This is how I want to. This is something I discovered recently. I had never noticed this before. What do you notice in that first picture? Mm-hmm. And in the top right circle of the second picture, the word united is lowercase.
Exactly.
It was an adjective. It wasn't. This is 1776, according to the date on the paper. The word united was not part. It was the states of America, and united was an adjective. And you see that circle down on the lower left says that we are free. That they are free and independent states. And it says that in a couple of places. In fact, the word states that's just to the top left of that circle is a continuation of the same sentence. So So I noticed this recently, and I thought, it's interesting. At what point did United become actually part of the name of the country versus just an adjective?
Constitution.
That there was in the Articles of Confederation a few years later, before the Constitution, they did talk about a union, a perpetual union, but the perpetual union was based on the idea that each state, and I wrote this down so I could say it right, provided that each state should retain its sovereignty, freedom, and independence. Now, that's before the Constitution. That was the Articles of Confederation, which came. So I maintain, in spite of what Miss What's Her Name, tried to explain to me on Instagram, I don't think that the intention
Never.
was. They argued about how big the national government should be, but I don't think it was ever thought of to be what we have today, which is this sort of bloated. What do you guys?
agree with
So,
I wish, you know what we should have Trevor do? Is we should set Trevor up with the ability to research on the spot as we're talking and then fire like information, because we're just random everyday people.
Yeah.
We're not historians. We're not,
actually is. It
right?
depends on how fast he can think and type. But
Okay, so
could
he might even
actually-
know the answer to this. So I'm going to venture a guess as to when the United became more important. Just a guess.
Yeah.
Post-Civil War.
Ooh.
Absolutely. So I think the first moment was we, the people of the United States, and so the Constitution, right, starts in order to form a more perfect
Union.
Perfect
More perfect.
union, right? But at that moment, and then you go to the Civil War, Lincoln thought of it as nobody can leave this union. This union is perfect. We will fight you. There is no option for any state to leave the Federation, right?
We in Texas always reserve the right. I just have to make that disclaimer.
But having said that, yes, the federal government is enormous. I think we can, I think it's two different things. One is whether the country should be united, whether it is a single entity. Yes, I think this country is a single. It's not the sum of the parts. It's a single entity, but the federal budget is enormous.
I would argue that we ought to appear as. Well, if I go back and I look at what they were trying to do, to me, it looks like they wanted to be a single entity to the outside, but independent entities on the inside. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the way we deal with the rest of the world, then we are one country, but within the country, we are these individual states. And I think, and I haven't found any, I was about to say I haven't found any evidence of this in the writings that I've read, but maybe there is. It kind of solves the problem of scale, right? Like, this is your wheelhouse, right? Scale.
Yeah.
By allowing us to operate as individual states at a certain level, it avoids the problem of how do you solve, or it gives us a way to be a very large country and still deal with problems at a smaller level. Do you know what I'm saying? You're
Right.
both looking at me like I don't know what you mean.
Because it goes back to the history as to our independence, right? We were absolutely establishing ourselves against tyranny. We were not going to allow
Right.
tyranny in any way, shape, or form. And one of the first things you said when we started talking here was that our founding fathers, they're probably turning over in their graves right now. But you know my position.
Yeah.
I believe that we are victims of tyranny from the federal government right now today. And I know that's probably a little extreme.
Well,
Argue with me there, Tony.
I think. Look,
Tabasco.
I wouldn't
Code
say
word Tabasco.
I wouldn't say that the founders would be disappointed because I mean, I'm just gonna throw this out there.
Yeah.
Go.
But I think America gets better every day. I think the notion of let's make America great again is the biggest lie that has ever been shared. I think every day America is better. Every day.
We're great. We start.
Tomorrow-
We're great.
Tomorrow
We don't have to
will
make great
be
again.
greater
Okay.
than today.
Certainly,
I
certainly,
think-
I agree that we're better than most other places in the world.
Because I would ask let's make America great again. Okay, compared to what period of time? What's that period of time that America was greater
Than it is
than
today.
it is today? Tell me. What's that period?
Yeah, that's going to depend
We
kind of
have-
Based on what?
on your
We have
perspective. yeah.
absolute dominance over soft power, hard power. What is the rest of the world doing that is better than us?
Okay. We're about to veer off into a whole completely different topic than what I planned, but which we could do.
Let's go back-
We
let's
need
go
to
back
come
to the
back. We need to
topic.
come back to that because you said we're the victim of tyranny of our government.
I don't think we are. So
Yeah.
I think we have grown so powerful, just like in a corporation, right? We all have worked or work in very large corporations. Is it slower in a large corporation? Yes, it is terribly smaller, right? So Bill Gates back, in 30 years ago, could he have, programmed Word a lot quicker than it is today to make a tweak to Microsoft Word? Yes, but it is. I think it's just part of the cost of being great and big. But I don't think.
I don't know. Okay.
No, we're going to argue that one because that goes
Yeah.
right back to the budget.
Yeah. So, Mr. Producer, sir,
Well,
make a note that we got to get the three of us back again to talk about whether America is better now than we were before. That's going to be a good one. All right, let's come back to this budget thing.
I think the budget.
let's go back to the budget. Budget.
So Trev, just scroll down a little bit. All right, here we go. I made this chart just for the purpose.
Look at you, Mr.
So
Chart
here's
Boy.
not
camera.
So what I looked at is where does after you take out, if you take out military, Social Security, and Medicare, Medicaid, right? Those three things actually make up about 3/4 of the whole federal budget. So the whole federal budget, right? It averaged out. If you average it out over the last 10 years or so, the whole federal budget is a little north of $4 trillion. If you take out, if you go, defense, Medicare, Social Security, that's a little under $3 trillion. So you're left with about $1.2 trillion of everything else. And out of that $1.2 trillion of everything else, that's not those three, these four departments account for a third so they account for $400 billion, which is a third of the federal budget, not counting defense and Social Security and Medicare.
Okay.
And so what I'm thinking is if we're looking for targets, for things that we could take out and and give to the states, because damn it, the states should be doing this in the first place, then this is where these are the good targets to shoot at.
Yeah.
So
Can I establish my criteria first
yes, please.
for thinking these things through? So as not to just make random comments about labor versus education or whatever.
Yes, please.
And I'm going to piggyback off a comment that Tony made a little bit earlier when he started talking about the preamble to the Constitution, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union. Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. That's where my head is at when we're talking about the United States of America, the government and what the federal government is responsible for. So military, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, that falls into the preamble of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And then my way of thinking about it, how does any of this roll up into
Yeah, it's a good framework.
Okay, so I'm letting you know where I'm going to be coming from.
Yes, I disagree that Social Security and Medicare.
Ooh, we're going to get into that one
Yeah,
too.
that's a tough. I certainly, I'll tell you what. I recently looked up on the Social Security, website where you can look up your own specific
Yep.
data, right?
It's pathetic,
And I
but
saw how much I've paid into it, and saw how much I'm going to get in a few years, and I'm pretty sure that I could get a better ROI on that money had I just been allowed to keep it, especially if you consider how much my employers paid into it the whole time.
Yes.
So that's another one, yeah, for sure. By the way, I see here on our in studio TV, the red colors look the same in the columns. So I think you can see
We can
you can see a
distinguish.
faint line there. So the ones that I thought we should take target, and I actually created a little scoreboard that we're going to use to figure this out.
Okay.
But agriculture is enormous, and the enormous part of agriculture is farm services. And I'm thinking, I didn't really have time to look into details of what these things are, but I'm thinking that's mostly farm subsidies, right?
Yep.
Farm services. That's where that $100 billion is going. Food and nutrition, which
I don't know what that is.
yeah, forest and conservation. Okay, we got that. Then the rest of them are a little bit simpler. We got elementary and secondary education. We got $70 billion of student aid. Under labor, pretty much all of the Department of Labor. So along the bottom, those are departments, and then the segments are agencies.
Yeah.
And so we got a student aid at $70 billion. We got elementary and secondary education at $35 billion. The entire Department of Labor is pretty much all spent on employment and training. I'm not exactly sure what that entails. And then when you get over into housing, and it's actually housing and urban development, you got $45 billion in housing programs, and then another $10 billion in community planning and development. So that's the breakdown. And all that adds up to $400 billion.
To me, agriculture is sacred. I don't know what food and nutrition means, but to me, farm subsidies, I think, are critical because during wartime, we're going to be thankful that we have some domestic production of essential produce and cattle, right? So to me, and something, how do we compete, for example, with Europe? Europe has ginormous agricultural subsidies.
Henry Hazlitt would disagree with you on the farm subsidies.
Forest and conservation, the same. We need our national parks. I
want to hear that. I want to hear that perspective.
So,
I want to hear that.
Hey, Trev, go ahead and pull up the board. Oh, you got to uncheck everything. Oh no, that's the wrong one. It's the second tab. No, it's there.
Ladies and gentlemen, please forgive our.
No, it's the
producer.
The board. But there's there we go. All right. Here's our scoreboard. All right.
Okay.
Henry Hazlitt, who wrote Economics in One Lesson. So his point is that, and I didn't really come prepared to argue this.
What?
Economics in One Lesson.
You don't have to argue it. You just have to present what it is that he talks
I've never
about.
read that.
Yeah, you need to read Economics in One Lesson. So
Okay.
he tackles what he calls economic fallacies, which is the old things like the old things like, well, if somebody breaks a window in the bakery, the baker is out money, but it creates work for the guy who fixes windows, and he basically shoots holes in all of those economic and some of those things that drive economic decisions. Anyway, he's got a chapter where he talks about the problem with the farm subsidies, and you're basically paying farmers to produce stuff that
You're insuring them.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I can't really remember the pertinent. The problem is you create imbalances in the natural mechanism.
The Darwinian
Yeah.
natural selection.
Yeah.
I think. Look, it's like, for example, I'm gonna ask you a question. What about microchips?
Dude, stay on farms.
So no, because I'll tell you something. With microchips, it's the same
very
story.
focused.
You're saying, look,
Talk about the
we're
farms.
relying on Taiwan and China, basically, right? So now we're trying to bring some of that production into America because it's a critical component for the economy. Right?
Yeah.
So to me, I gotta tell you, $100 billion. I mean, just think about this.
all we're arguing, all we're trying to decide at this point is not whether that money ought to be spent, but whether it ought to be
Spent there?
should agricultural farm service be something that happens at the
Okay.
national level
Who here comes from a farm
At the
family?
national level.
or at the state level?
Who here sitting at this table has come from a farm family? Raise your hand.
Not me, but my wife. Yes, they come from a farming family, and I assume it's my own now. So yes.
Okay. Now, anybody who has worked on a farm, God help me if I ever have to go through another summer like that in my life, I'd rather just hurl myself off a building. It is horrible.
Yeah.
Back-breaking work. Horrible back-breaking work that you have got to have a love for doing that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if what you do, nobody is doing it for a subsidy. Nobody is doing it for a subsidy. Nobody is doing it because they don't have other opportunities.
And they're not wealthy either.
And they're not wealthy. And if I have a situation where the cost of my pesticides or my equipment or whatever it is that it costs me to run a farm, if my costs go up and the potato that I'm producing costs me more to dig out of the ground, I cannot
What if you
pass
lose
that
the
cost.
crop?
I cannot pass that cost on to the consumer. It's not, what is it, elastic and elastic? Who's the economist? You see what I'm saying?
I remember now.
You cannot pass it on to the
Haslam's
consumer.
problem with this is that
No.
when you
It's perfectly elastic.
Thank you. It's elastic.
Perfectly
Exactly.
elastic.
So I remember now Haslam's problem is that when you look at the way it actually works, the government ends up subsidizing the people who are poor farmers, or the people who don't work hard, or the people because when you look at how the money flows, the money ends up flowing to the people who aren't good at it.
Well, but isn't that just in the nature of investing? So, for example, if I
Yes, but
it's investing.
But he explains that. But the way a bank gives money, see, the guy who's a good farmer, he can get money from the bank because he has good credit and he has a good history and da-da-da-da-da-da. The government loans money without fear of the risk that it takes
Right.
on that
Are
money.
you saying
And
that
you-
that banks are good at allocating capital?
Oh, no,
in
let's
theory.
not go down that.
I was leaning in. Did you have something there?
Just
Chad.
to throw something into the farm topic of federal versus state, without taking a side, just throwing out there, is one issue that many people present with the federal government getting involved with farm and agriculture is that there's more uncertainty and less knowledge to the farmers as to what's being done, as such the pesticides and what's being applied to them.
Yeah.
And just on a theoretical level, the government doesn't have their intentions aren't necessarily lying in with the farmers. It's international, and they have their own interests and their own goals. So the argument that many propose is that the federal government getting involved is using agriculture with other intentions in mind, and it doesn't go back down to the people, so to speak.
Right. They're using it as a tool for something else.
There are other people. The state government has other states in mind. The federal government has other federal governments in mind.
So what he's done is he's just brought the conversation back down to your original question, which was,
It was federal or state.
is it federal or state? Now, we have established, because Tony and I make the rules for the entire United States of America, Tony and I have established
That's not such a
that
bad
farm subsidies are appropriate, that we need to support our agriculture. Now, the question is, as Trevor has brought it back around, is it state or is
federal?
federal?
So I'm inclined to think that the states could do a better job of allocating money to the needs of the farmers in their state, as opposed to, so if you took that $100 billion and now I don't know how you're going to divide it up, but if you let the states, so, farming in Texas looks very different from farming in
Oh, yeah.
Iowa, from farming. And,
Oh, yeah.
But so I'm inclined to think that at the state level, Texas can make better decisions about how to subsidize farmers in Texas versus, another state there. But I tend to think that about damn near everything, with the federal government. So I'm a little bit far to that.
We can get to that conversation too, because I'll tell you something. I think the state government is as ineffective.
It's
the
a
federal.
good point.
I have, if you talk on any of these topics, if the
Ron
question
Swanson
is
would agree with you
who
on
should
that one,
run
by
it,
the way.
federal or state, both are terrible.
They both suck, right?
Yeah.
And a reason for that I would put out is that state government officials, whenever you hear them talk, any presentations, it's all about, ironically enough, it has to do with a federal level, because they're all climbing the ladder to try. When I hear Beto talk, which I know none of us want to, but whenever you do, it has to do with the nation rather than the state. So I think the issue is many state level governments don't take an approach such as Florida man in the high heel boots. What's his name?
They're not high heels. He just has lifts on the inside.
They are high heels. Human foot does not bend that way. But what was really good? What was his name?
DeSantis.
Yes. What was good about him was that he always took, through COVID at least, he took the state interests in mind and the people who live there, with the exception of his what do you call it, the property management. And such. That was not
that was a
very
little crazy. All right, so I guess it comes back to, and we're gonna have to move on past this one, or else we're not gonna get.
I vote for federal.
Federal.
Yeah.
I think you made an interesting point, which is if in a time of war or crisis, we don't want to be caught. And I guess it depends on what's the objective of shoring up the farm. Is the objective one of national concern, or is it one of local concern?
I think it's national.
And
Look, California almonds. If California consumed all of those almonds, they would, their almonds would be like coming out of their ears, right? It's national, right? California almonds, California apples. I think sugarcane in Louisiana, right? That sugarcane is not for state, but it's for national purposes.
so I was gonna vote for state on this because of my inclination to think that the federal government always does a more poor job. But you made a good point, which is that the states don't do much better, and so I don't know. State. Delphina's a state. I'm gonna. I don't know, Trev. What do you?
It doesn't matter because they're going to sell. It's about subsidizing the farmer. It's about supporting the farmer in your state. But the product gets sold outside of your state.
Yeah.
So the state gets the benefit of their agriculture doing well. So they are invested.
Yeah, I still think it comes down to the states will do better. I'm going with state. What do you say, Trev?
You talk about the wartime situation.
Yeah.
But that is not the normal, and I think that's what the federal government is very good at doing, is making you believe that is the normal. So you take, for example, all the airline issues after post 9/11. We have to implement all this and keep it, because they ended up keeping it. They kept it because there could be the chance that this crazy thing.
Yeah.
And I think people over or underestimate the state's potential to unite, or people in general to unite during extreme times such as World War II.
I was just gonna say, we have the ability to ramp up special programs like we did.
So you ramp up in times of war, to Tony's point.
Yeah.
But then there's the separate problem, which is a conversation for another day, is how do you ramp down? Because you can't trust the.
Which is why we're in the problem we're in, right, Trev?
Yeah.
That's exactly why we're in the problem.
Federal, just because I think the
Somebody
state
has
would
to
be
say
just as
Somebody has to.
it would be just
All
as
right.
terrible, and I would
All
just
right.
leave it there.
Well, I hate to tell you, but we just took $100 billion out of the federal budget.
Okay.
So, all right.
Food and nutrition. Let's go.
Can we all agree that what the fuck is the federal government doing with food and nutrition?
No,
It-
state.
Like-
Stay.
I don't
We're
have
taking that
anything
one
to
out.
say.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
state, yeah.
That's Michelle Obama wanting to make kids less fat. Next.
Yeah. All
Be
right.
less fat, eat more red meat.
So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one, forest and conservation,
Forest and conservation.
Federal.
I was surprised that it was
That's-
such a big ticket item.
it should be, well, I'm going to say federal because I think just preserving those beautiful national parks. So now think about all of the people who travel across states just to visit a national park. And we have so many national parks that there's people with, they travel there and they spend a great time. They camp there. And it's frankly, it's something that's relatively affordable for a lot of families.
Yeah,
So I got to tell you, I think if you made that state, Big Bend would be full of oil rigs. And I don't want that. I want Big Bend completely isolated of oil rigs. It's beautiful. I don't want Yosemite with like solar cell panels. Like I want some rules at the federal level. That sacred land of Americans, untouched, federal.
So what you're arguing is you're making the point. One of the ways that you're making a decision is if the general population has a vested interest in something that's happening in a particular state. So I will concur with you on forest and conservation, and I will go federal.
Yeah. I will too, just because we got to give them something at the federal level, so we might as well. we might as well give them this one because it's fairly inconsequential.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Trev, you gonna be?
It is. Yeah, it's
argument on
Trev,
this?
where are you going, Trev?
I don't have as much knowledge in this, so I'm going to
Pass.
appeal to my elder and follow federal.
Your elder.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Now, education. So the two big tickets in education are student aid and elementary and secondary. So Trevor's already voted.
We're already voting.
Already voting. I have a hard time understanding why the federal government needs to be involved in elementary and secondary education.
Double dipping.
It's, yeah.
So yeah. So
State.
State.
are there any
state.
good arguments for that? Has
Yeah,
anybody
somebody
ever heard,
come up with
has
something.
anybody ever heard a good argument
Look,
for that?
I come from a country where all education is managed at the federal level.
yeah.
Right? And is it good? No, it's not.
That's why you went to high school in San Antonio.
Yeah. Now, here, it is mostly managed at the state level. Is it better? Yes, it's better.
Is it mostly? I mean, $35 billion feels like a lot, but I guess
It
there's.
should be at the state.
It's not really that much.
I guess it's not that much.
No.
Okay, state.
Yeah.
So we're going state on that one. All right. What about this whole like student aid thing?
Nothing. It shouldn't be federal and it shouldn't be state.
It should
and
be zero.
It should be zero.
be zero.
across
Should be
all the
zero.
board. Yeah, because you know what institutions do? They set their pricing based on what a household can afford.
That's exactly right.
If you drop $1,
when you fill out the FAFSA,
they increase
you're
what?
basically-
$1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like they know that you are able to pay $10 for your kids. So no matter how much aid, they're gonna increase tuition so that you pay $10.
Right.
So this is inefficient across everything. This should
So
be
here's a question for
zero.
you. Here's a question for you. Which university is the richest university in the United States?
Probably Harvard or
Yes.
Princeton.
Who's number 2?
I don't know.
University of Texas at Austin.
Oh shit! Really?
Go Longhorns. Hook 'em.
Wow.
So that goes to show you
The
that
endowment is the second largest. Wow.
second largest. So the from a state perspective, we can be just as powerful as Harvard on a state
Yeah.
state level, state versus private. So yeah,
on
state
another-
all the way, baby.
With less plagiarism.
With less plagiarism.
Yeah.
A lot less plagiarism.
On another podcast, I gotta tell you, the university life and the concept of university in this country is perhaps one of the worst things that exist in this country.
Yeah. That is a whole other
Football
subject.
does not belong in universities.
Yeah.
All football program. I cannot believe that there's universities that are getting $35 billion of taxpayers' money and have a stupid football team.
Well, this is elementary and
So-
well,
secondary.
foot-
we're on
you
student
know,
aid.
Oh, student
No,
aid.
we're on student aid. We're on
70
student aid.
billion.
We're on student aid.
Student aid. So
70
united.
billion. 70 billion.
Yeah, state.
Nothing. Put
It
me
should
on
be.
the
It should be.
nothing category.
It should be nothing. I'm with Tony, but
State.
Yeah, but
state,
we gotta-
state,
but
state,
We're taking it out of the
out of federal. Yeah, so we're taking it out of federal. All right.
Now, I didn't get a chance.
Employment and training.
There's in the Department of Labor, the budget for the Department of Labor is $75 billion, and it's almost entirely it's in this one. So they have a whole bunch of categories, or not, excuse me, categories. They have a bunch of agencies under the Department of Labor, and when you go, by the way, if you guys ever want to look at this, Trev, go real quick to the Downsize the Government website. Yeah, that one. So you can go here and you click anything on the left. This is a website called Downsize the Federal Government, which I love. And you click anything on the left, and then if you open up the little plus signs, it'll show you the little, it'll show you all the agencies, and you can click things, and you can see like how much does this one spend, and how much does this one spend.
Oh, good.
So,
This is so good.
yeah, so you can go here and like make your own like government spending chart, but if you go back to what I was surprised was to find out that under the Department of Labor, there's a whole bunch of those agencies listed, but none of them have shit in them except for this one, which is employment and training.
And what does that mean, even?
I don't know.
So since we don't even know what it means,
You know what it means?
I think the employment and training and labor department as a whole, I think is a giant money laundering scam.
I think
Take
so
the
too.
IRS, for example. The IRS just hired a year or so ago an unnecessary amount of people to do what?
80,000.
To do nothing, really. So I think it's an excuse to just get money from one place to another that we don't see.
Employment and training.
so let's do this. How about if we send out a request to anybody in the listening audience that has a legitimate benefit as a United States citizen
Yeah.
coming from the Department of Labor under employment and training, and educate us, because I would really like to know. I honestly do want to know.
All my job training for various jobs, there's the direct training you get from the company, which is, for example, I worked at as a waiter. The training was with an older waiter who'd been there longer, and you shadow him and such. And any sort of required training by some higher position is always those dumbass videos that are 3 hours long that tell you that you're not allowed to touch people or sexually harass them in the workplace.
Yeah.
Like that's supposed to actually deter psychopaths.
He just said something that really made me angry sitting here.
Okay. You might want to duck.
You might want no, but not angry at him,
Oh, okay.
but
You're saying-
angry,
Okay.
potentially angry at the situation. If employment and training is about funds that are dedicated to employing and training federal employees, I'm about to lose my shit.
Okay, so let's Trev, look it up. Go to the Wikipedia list, Trev, and let's see if we can find. You have to go to Department of Labor
Right?
first. On the left, you got to find Department of Labor, and then we got to find this agency and see what the hell it does. So
This is one of those that look. The state of Texas has unemployment benefits and also training and
Right, and so why
This
do we
is a
need the
double
federal
dip. It's a
government? It's a
double
double dip.
yeah, let's see.
I think Trevor's
like
right.
education.
I think Trevor's right. I
Education
think
is
it's a
double dip,
money
yeah.
laundering.
What is it? No. Find the employment and training.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you on screen right now, or are we on? Who's on?
No, it's on y'all.
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
on
if
us.
somebody
Okay.
wants to tell me how
Employment-
wrong I am,
Somewhere under Department of Labor is to go to the Department of Labor, and somewhere there's employment and training, because
Employment training centers.
does it not have? Oh, you're in Department of Defense. You're in Homeland Security.
now if they're
You gotta go
training
Labor on the left.
No, I
things
was,
that
I
the
was in
United
labor.
States needs, I'm trying to think, maybe something that the U.S. needs, but
some kind of strategic.
whatever. But that would be under
Defense.
military. That would be under military.
Employment
No, I
and
think-
training. What was it? It was like 15 billion.
No,
No.
What is it? Department of Employment.
Department of it's agency. It's the Department of Labor, and it's the Employment and Training Agency.
Well, I didn't mean to get us down a rabbit hole
That's okay.
here.
We're all kind of curious now. I mean, Employment and Training Agency.
ETA, Employment and Training Administration.
Oh, there we go. That's it. What do they do? What are these?
What do you people
EPA.
do?
That's a terrorist
provides
organization
job
in Spain.
training. Wait, go back.
What?
Provides job training and help with finding jobs and careers.
For who?
I don't know. There's a website.
The state of Texas does that for
There's a
themselves.
website. Wait, go back. There's a website right there. The Employment and Training Administration. Oh, this is like for
It's the same as
this
Texas.
is for
It's a
people.
double dip. It's a double dip.
How many?
Oh, I wonder if it has to do with the unemployment sector.
Yeah, but
Which is a lot of
unemployment is
money
handled
going
by
through.
Just like in
How
Texas.
many
by
people?
te- by-
I wonder,
by the
I
state.
wonder how many
Texas is the
people
same.
looking for a job even go to this website, and
Well,
how many
the-
people has this helped find a job?
Well, the whole unemployment area, and I'm forgetting the term, but that's a whole. Like, does this have to do with welfare?
I think they're playing LinkedIn. We don't need LinkedIn. There's already LinkedIn.
what's the budget number on this bullshit? How much are we cutting out? Let's see. There we go. All right.
Next time, wait till I finish my drink.
$75 billion
Okay. Out.
for that fucking website.
This
Okay.
is indeed LinkedIn.
Out.
Oh, and grants. Unemployment.
What are you gonna?
Training project?
Can I get a grant not to work? To be unemployed?
Yeah,
Grants.
welfare. I think it has to do with the welfare system. I think they're involved that, and that's a lot of money.
Oh, you know what? I wonder, is welfare buried in here somewhere?
I bet you it is.
Oh wow! All right.
All right, well, let's move on because we're never going to get through our list.
We're
I want
definitely
to.
cutting that one. We're giving whatever. If there's anything useful there, I'm sure it can be done at the state level. I don't understand why we have to do that at the national.
At a national level, yeah.
And all right, so back to the board. Oh, he's still researching.
Maybe
So-
your friend that took you to task on whatever it was, she'll call back and tell you that
What's
you need an education.
what's next on the list here? What else we got? What else do we need? Okay.
So it's state, everyone.
Okay.
State,
so
yes.
yeah. state.
Housing programs.
Housing and urban development.
Again,
housing-
welfare.
Housing programs.
Yeah, no.
And this includes no.
No.
Okay, my something to throw out here for the housing program. I don't know if this specific agency is involved, or this department, but maybe something to keep in mind is all the crazy immigration that the federal government is enforcing and throwing a bunch of immigrants into special housing systems involuntarily to states. Texas has got a lot of them. A lot of small Texas towns are overrun, and all these special housing. And this might tie into the homeless situation, which is very, very profitable. A lot of people make a lot of money off the homeless.
So explain that. How do people make money off the homeless?
I don't exactly know how, but it is.
Because I could use some extra income.
There's all of these billions of dollars, and you want to get rid of
profitable than podcasting. I can tell you that for damn sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not doing this for the money, folks.
Yeah. If you look under, so if I go back to the records here, so interestingly, I combined two numbers on that. The housing and urban development, I combined. There's something called housing programs, and then there's something else called public and Indian housing programs. And so that number that I put up there was actually, I combined both of those because they were both pretty big, and they added up to the 35 billion or whatever it was. So there's one agency called housing programs, and there's another one called public and Indian housing,
Okay, could we
and they add
not?
up to 45 billion.
I really do not on this podcast want to get into a discussion on our indigenous population.
Okay, we're gonna sidestep that one.
We need to
Save
not.
it for a gambling episode.
Yeah, let's.
Public and Indian housing. There it is. PIH is responsible for HUD's housing choice voucher, public housing, and Native American programs. So it's really all, it's called public and Indian housing, but it's really all for Native American programs.
I think that's what they mean by Indian.
Public and Indian. So what was that? What was the amount on that? I didn't give you a breakdown.
So unfortunately,
That one's 10 billion, I believe.
if there's anything that has to do with our indigenous population, then we cannot make that a state issue. We just can't. We just cannot. That has to be a federal issue.
That
Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, it has got to be a federal
So
issue.
that's actually the larger. I'm looking right now at the breakdown of that $45 billion. The larger part of it, about $30 billion, is public and Indian housing program.
I got it right here.
You got it right there. Oh, there it is. There it is. And then click the other one. Click the housing programs button too. Down. Right. Up. There. Okay. So the red line is
What the hell is this?
what? The red line is the public and Indian housing, and the green line is the just housing programs, which I guess is other
It
housing.
looks like there's a discrepancy here.
What do you mean?
It does.
Well, why is public and Indian housing programs so much more than housing programs?
The other one is negative.
The red is public and Indian housing program.
Yeah.
Why is that so much more than?
Okay, so whatever the green line is, we're taking that out of the budget.
We can take that out.
Yeah, the green one is not necessary.
We can argue about what do we do about our Indian population.
That's another topic.
Some other topic.
Yeah. Okay,
But
so
whatever's not Indian, out of the federal budget.
so our scoreboard does not allow us to separate those two.
All right, so let's just leave
but
it
the
be.
bulk of
Yeah.
it is the public
Indian,
and Indian.
so let's-
So we'll leave it in there. All right, so we're going with federal on that one, Trev.
We are.
Yeah, I'm going federal.
Yeah, we're going. Well, I'm not.
You don't have to,
I'm going
Trevor. You do what you want. Okay.
I know I can. Do it.
Com
He's
plan.
abstaining.
What is com plan and development?
Community planning and development.
Oh heck no.
But what is that even? What is community planning and development?
Let's put it
I
this
mean,
way.
I thought that ever since Obama became president, there
That
were no
like the
community
Barack
planners.
Obama.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was a community planner, right?
it's something like that. Community planning. All right, he's looking it up. So this is only 10. It's only 10 billion, and community planning and development seeks to deploy viable communities. Develop viable communities by promoting integrated approaches that provide decent housing, a suitable living environment, and expand economic opportunities for low and moderate income persons.
No, this should
Money laundering.
Money laundering.
Yeah.
That's a state. We should do that at the state level, right? Whether we ought to pay for
at the local level, actually,
even
not even the state, at the local
yeah,
level.
yeah, even lower than So all right, Trev, we're going with
State everyone.
I'm state.
Yeah,
state. I mean, that's a local need. There's no reason that needs to be done at the federal level. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we just took $264 billion out of the federal budget.
Woohoo!
And wait. No, we took out we reduced it by $264 billion.
That's
I would have only reduced it by 163 because I left.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, that's okay. And so now the question is, now that we wave our magic wand and we make that happen, and this is probably a conversation for another day because we got to get Delphina on her way. But
7 minutes.
But the question then becomes, which is your point, now is the state are we capable at the state and local level of doing any better job than the federal? I would argue that we probably wouldn't do worse
or better. My message to fellow Texans is that you are all living the Republican lie. Republicans have told you that we're blessed for living Texas because there's small government. Nothing could be a bigger lie. We have 2 mayors in the city of Houston, Sylvester Turner and Lina Hidalgo, We have
No longer Sylvester Turner.
2 accountants and 2 police departments and 2 sets of bureaucracies. We pay enormous property taxes. We, by no means, are any different than California. It's all a lie, a big lie. And the state government, there is this blind belief that, oh, just give it to the states. Oh, how wonderful. They're going to do such a great job. It's just as bad or worse as the federal government.
Is it worse? I mean,
Yes, I think so. I gotta tell you, I
it
think
can't be
so.
worse.
I don't believe it.
can't be worse. How could it be worse than the
I think it's worse than there's a lot more bureaucracy at the
at the state level?
yeah.
I disagree.
There's a lot of bureaucracy.
I mean, I agree with you that just doing things at the state level is not any sort of a panacea of
Look, they have these inspectors, right? So I built a pool 2 years ago.
built a what?
A pool,
A pool.
tiny, 8,000-gallon, perfect square, no special features, just literally just a hole with water for my kids to play in the summer, right? And I gotta tell you, inspectors visited my house for a year. I don't even want to. I don't even want to go through the complaints, the observations that they made. That's bureaucracy at its best.
Yeah.
That's ineffective. They would come and they would say, all you have to do, sir, is A and B. Okay, so we would fix A and B, and then the next
And then a different guy
inspector
comes
would
and,
find C and D.
Yeah.
So we would fix A, B, C, and D, and then the next guy, or the same guy, would find E and F. Texans are living a lie. The Republican Party has lied to you. They're just saying that they're the small government party. They're just saying it, but they're not. Abbott, Patrick, Ted Cruz, and the other guy, Paxton, that should be in jail, are mafiosos, gangsters. They are just as bad as the Democrats. You vote for Republicans for the small government, you're making an absolutely terrible mistake. You're living a lie, right? And at the federal government, at the federal level, is the exact same thing. So I think the state government is just as horrible
I get to rebut.
as the federal
Okay.
government.
You what? You get,
I
you
get
get to rebut. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not a fan of government, period, the end.
Yeah. There's a strong libertarian vein.
There's a
in this
strong
group right
libertarian
here.
vein here.
Yeah, yeah.
However, I have lived in New York,
Yeah.
Massachusetts,
Oof. Oof.
Vermont. I'll tell you stories about how I used to mow Bernie Sanders signs off of people's. With my car, I'd go and drive up on people's lawns and just mow down Bernie Sanders signs.
Why I like her? Yeah.
Let me tell you what, I've lived in many places in my life. God bless Texas.
Yeah.
This is absolutely the most phenomenal state from the perspective of the people.
But that's not the government.
Opportunity.
But that's not the government.
Wait.
That's not the government.
I will. You
You
didn't let me finish. You didn't let me finish. You didn't let me finish.
But
You didn't
that's
let me
not the
finish.
government. You're making a mistake.
No,
No, you didn't let me
You're gonna have
finish.
to let her finish.
You didn't let me finish.
Or she will stop.
I have. That's right.
What
I
else
do not
besides the people? What else?
I will tell you this. I have been more impressed. I'm not saying it's good, but I'm saying in comparison, the services, the government services that have been provided to me by the state of Texas are superior.
So example.
Example.
For example, if I have a problem, so you talk about property taxes. I happen to live in a very expensive part of Houston,
Yeah.
which is another whole, in the memorial villages, we have another whole set of
It also is
Texas,
it's
right?
also a neighborhood that has no Bernie Sanders signs.
no Bernie Sanders signs in my neighborhood.
She
But
mows them down.
I will mow it down like nobody's business. But if I have to go to ask questions about my taxes, if I have questions or I have to deal with the state about my business, incorporating my business, my state franchise taxes, anything that I've had to do with working with the state of Texas, the response has been timely, it has been efficient, And it has been with a yes, ma'am, and a thank you, ma'am, and a big ass smile on their faces because they are happy to be in their jobs. In other states, they are angry. I work for the state, and you can kiss my badunkus, and you can get in line, and I'm going to answer you when I want to answer you.
Yeah,
I don't agree with the money.
But so to his point, is that the government, or is that just because the people are nicer here?
Anthropologically, we're better. Texas, yes, we're better. We're southern. We smile. Yes, the food is better. But I gotta tell you, I think this defense that Texans have over the Republican leaders, it reminds me of North Korea. We shouldn't take this crap. They are terrible. Greg Abbott is a terrible person, a terrible ruler.
Dude, what are you gonna have? Beto coming in and taking your guns away?
They are just as bad. But what I hate is this idea that they are somewhat
He can try.
better people. That oh, God bless Texas because there's less government. There's no less government.
Yeah.
You have three. You have the memorial villages. You have the Harris County, and you have the city of Houston. Where's the small government? Where is it? Tell me.
Yeah.
What makes you different from California?
I would argue, what difference does it make if they're saying, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, you're welcome?
Because
Being
I'm
polite, if
paying
they're
for a
bringing you-
service.
what difference does it make if they're swift and efficient at bringing you a pile of shit?
No, because
That's true.
that's not. I don't.
I feel like we need a Ron Swanson video right now to kind of like.
Hey, to wrap up because we're
ahead.
coming up on your
Oh, yep.
time.
Okay, let's go.
I
Thank you,
will.
Mr.
I will
Producer,
finish. I will wrap up with a
He's the time
hypothetical
manager.
question.
Good time manager.
Yeah.
To secede or not to secede?
Oh.
Oh, that is the question.
I'm not.
Absolutely not.
No.
In other words,
Absolutely.
Tony, you were complaining about how Texas is just as big government as the rest of the country, but would you rather deal with those problems on a level as big as the entire United States or just at your own state level?
What's the population of Texas?
A lot.
I think
What's
we're
the
30
what's up?
million.
30 million. I think it's 30 million. Yeah.
But I'll tell you. So
Do you know what the population of Canada is? 40 million.
right?
We have a population almost the size of
Yeah.
Canada.
We're a tenth. We're almost a tenth of the country.
Yeah. I think. Look,
Oh, 38 million. Oh, no, that's Canada.
I think
30
both at the federal level or at the state level is just gonna be as bad or as good. What I'm saying is, look, my wife is a rural Republican, ultra conservative girl, and I get to interact with that type of people a lot, and this belief that Republicans are small government
I think that
saints.
Yeah, so
it's
I
a
do
lie.
agree with your
That's
point that there are some people who so what they think of as being a Republican in their head is not the way Republican politicians are behaving right now.
No.
There's a lot, you see this a lot. In fact, there's people now on social media, you see people talk about the uniparty, right? The uniparty is that it doesn't really matter whether it's the Democrats or Republicans.
I'm in
They're
that
all
party.
serving their own self-interests. And nobody is really serving the interests of the people. And they're all going to do what their donors basically want them to do. So
Yes.
I'm kind of with you on that. But I think there's a point that says problems, some of this shit is just because, like, just from a physics standpoint, is easier to figure out
On a smaller scale.
on a smaller
On a
scale.
smaller scale.
On
On
a
a
smaller
smaller
scale.
Or
It's gonna be better at the
at a
smaller
smaller
scale.
scale.
I absolutely.
So we should.
I agree.
The answer is yes. We should.
I agree.
secede.
Yes.
We should secede.
We should see.
No,
Right.
we should not secede.
No.
No.
Okay, follow up.
Okay.
Who is anyone with me on returning to a monarchy?
Oh, that's a whole other.
Depends who gets to
You're,
be the
you're
monarch.
alone on that one.
Do I get to be the queen?
So
Doesn't matter on who it's about
There's
the
an
structure.
interesting. I feel like there's an interesting question there in terms of statistical probability.
It's interesting.
Which is, so a monarchy can be very, very bad, and a monarchy could be good. I mean, the people in Monaco seem happy.
Yeah, but
right?
what kind of monarchy? Are we
So-
talking a constitutional monarchy?
Well,
Are we
that's
talking
true.
a right?
And-
so
and- but I think there's an interesting like math perspective that says the odds, like the statistical probability of getting a single person who does the right thing is better than the statistical probability of having like this whole collection of assholes doing the right thing.
Yeah, but the statistical probability getting a single person that does the right thing does not guarantee that you're not going to eventually have some sort of tyrannical situation.
That's true. But you said that we're having tyranny now.
Yeah, we do have.
I'll tell you
That's
something.
True. Ah, all right. Touche,
constitutional
O'Sully.
Monarchy royal house costs a fraction of what our president's family costs.
Yeah. We could pocket a lot of money.
The
if we just go to
Windsors
Monarchy.
cost like 5% of what our presidents cost. Like
We'll-
their personal.
We'll follow up, and I'll bring
Yeah, let's do that.
Aristotle's Nicomachean
That's
Ethics.
another
Another-
podcast.
that's another one. All right.
All right.
That's it. We're done.
We're done.
Drinks are empty.
Cheers.
We're done.
I'm done.
So-
I'm on ice.